Welcome to the Cyclical CEO podcast, where we redefine what it means to scale a business without sacrificing your soul. I'm Camille Lalande, your guide to stepping into your CEO throne with systems, strategy, and sovereignty. If you're an ambitious woman who's built a successful business but feels trapped in the grind, this podcast is for you. Here we talk about scaling in flow, building a business that fuels your heart, and reclaiming the queen energy you were meant to embody. Let's break free from burnout and fall back in love with your business. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Today's episode number 5, is called Delegate or Die, the nervous system reason you're still doing everything yourself. So today's episode has a slightly different angle than what we've been talking about and addressing so far on this podcast. And also there is something slightly different in the way that I want to approach it on a personal level, and this is a challenge for me, and I want to be completely transparent with you. And so this is my first podcast ever, and we're now on episode 5, and I was procrastinating a little bit in the past weeks to show up and do more episodes because I felt like I was not feeling completely comfortable and natural in the way that I was showing up here, reading my notes a lot and whatnot. And then I had to have a serious conversation and sit down with myself and find more grace and softness and kindness towards me and look at this from a part of like, I am afraid of being seen like the person that is not an expert in this. And the truth is that I am not. So why am I trying to be seen as an expert doing this? And so today I'm approaching this episode with a totally different energy. I do have my notes here in front of me and I will look at them. And this is what makes me feel safe and supported on this episode. And there is nothing that becomes perfect without practice. So this is what I wanted to open up with today. And I am sure that there's a reason why this is happening. And I wanted to come forward about this and share this with you in case perhaps this will help you as well. And so on that note, if you are exhausted, if you are overbooked, if you're still doing everything yourself in your business or almost everything yourself, and deep down, you know it's not sustainable, but every time you try to delegate, you freeze, you avoid, or you micromanage all over again. This episode isn't just about delegation. It's about the nervous system wiring that keeps you gripping onto control even when it's burning you out. So let's talk about why letting go isn't just a business strategy, it's also healing. There's a big part of delegation and letting go that is intimately intertwined with your own personal growth. And so let's dive a little bit in my own personal story, in my own tangible example of how that was manifesting in my life. So my control wound moment. The most recent example I have of this in my life, I told you a little bit in episode number 4 about my project manager and how that has been such a game changer for me and my business. But more recently, I found myself being controlling and resisting in some areas where I could delegate and I chose not to out of fear, out of scarcity mindset and a lack mindset, which is part of the old identity that I was holding on to. And so one of my assistants was asking, how could I help you and this and that? And I told her, and I felt so out of alignment when I heard these words coming out of my mind, but I told her, look, for now, there's not much more that I can give you. Yeah, there's not much more that you can help me with because the tasks that I would need help with are not billable hours for clients. Because for those of you who know and who've been listening these past episodes, I own a virtual assistance agency. And therefore, it's a very safe business model in the sense that all my hours that I pay the virtual assistants working for me are billable hours to the client. So there's no risk. It's not like having someone that works 40 hours for you and you have to pay their salary whether they work or not, right? So it's a very safe business model. And it made me feel extremely unsafe to invest in this resource and to give her work that was non-billable to my clients. And so to give you more details about exactly what was the task that I was resisting to give her. I needed help with prospecting and with sending pitches and pitching and applying on gigs on a platform that I pay for. So I'm paying for a platform yearly where there are opportunities posted by certain business owners, and us as freelancers and agencies are able to pitch on it, and the client chooses the one that resonates with them the most. And so I was trying to do it myself, but the reality is that I was not able to show up every day and to pitch on these projects because I didn't have the time and because it was not my priority and I had better things to do, and it was not using my energy in its best way possible and me being in my 10x moves and my zone of genius. And so I wanted to delegate that task to my VA, but I felt in a lack, scarcity, and fear mindset that I wouldn't be getting a return on my investment right away and that this would be wasted money and a risk of not seeing that money again. And so what was happening is that I would not pitch on the projects and therefore not have new clients. And when I had the time to pitch on the projects, I was most of the time too late because you had to be, quick. The faster you are, the more chances you will be in the first ones to pitch and to be selected. And so at one point, I realized that I was truly not embodying my own medicine, my own teachings, and my own truth in all of that. And it didn't sit well with me. I was like, I'm here teaching all these beautiful things to people about delegation and this and that and systemizing, but yet here I am in the behind the scene hiding that I am not even the embodiment of my own teachings. And I had that limiting belief that because my business is not yet where most of my clients' businesses are, because I am not yet a 7-figure business, and it made me feel like, well, maybe certain things don't apply to me yet. Like I shouldn't be spending on XYZ and I should be doing it myself. And that's where I had it all wrong. So that is the moment where I reached my capacity and still resisted help in terms of control and delegation. And so letting go in that case was not just practical, it was mostly spiritual, it was mostly energetic, mental, and I was not yet ready to admit that it was a scarcity, fear-based belief of mine. Which leads me to talk to you about the 3 reasons why you are still doing it all instead of delegating. So it is not a strategy problem. It is primarily a safety problem. It is a matter of the nervous system, a matter of not feeling safe and comfortable and regulated in delegating. And so the number 1 reason you don't feel safe, sorry, I told you I was going to be more graceful on myself for this episode. So the number 1 reason you're still doing it all is that you do not feel safe receiving support. You do not feel safe in your nervous system. Your nervous system is used to overdoing, to controlling, to managing it all, to having less expenses, to having a full calendar. To you, receiving equals vulnerability and letting go equals risk. And you subconsciously associate delegation with loss of control, with disappointment, and even failure. And you probably are even attracting these things because those are the beliefs that live in your subconscious. And I have another little quick story I want to share with you in regards to that. I had a discovery call this week with a potential client, and she right away was really putting the brakes and being super opposing of everything I had to say about delegating and training people because she had had a bad experience with delegation where she was disappointed. And now her truth and what she believed was that it's always going to be like that and it's going to be impossible to delegate because no one can do it just like me and no one is trustworthy, competent, and able to do this work for me. And therefore, this was her reality because what your mind conceives, it achieves. If you say so, therefore it is. The universe knows only one word, and it is yes. And therefore, if you say that everybody's incompetent and unable to help you, yes, you are right. Which leads us to reason number 2 of why you're still doing it all by yourself. And number 2 is that you're tying your self-worth, you're tying your sense of worth to being the one who does it all. I am only valuable when I am the one delivering everything. This is what lives probably in your subconscious mind and your nervous system. It's a subtle martyr energy, and this equals sabotage. Delegation feels like cheating instead of expanding. And it's normal that you feel this way if that's the way you've been operating most of your life and your career, that you get your validation and you get your sense of worth and of feeling good and appreciated through others, and through others seeing you accomplish things and doing more and taking more on your plate. Especially if you've been raised by parents that were very hard on you and who had very high expectations and you had to do more in order to feel loved, it's very possible that this is something that is still living in your subconscious. Which really ties in perfectly to our last and third reason why you're still doing it all yourself. And that reason is that you fear relational disappointment because you've been let down before. So that is exactly the example I was just telling you about, this potential client, this prospect that I had a discovery call with. So her hesitation to delegate was coming from past wounds and not even about control in her case. Team members who ghosted, support that dropped the ball, people who said yes but didn't follow through. So now you might be carrying the emotional memory of, it's safer to do it myself than to be disappointed again, simply. But what if those past experiences weren't proof that you're not meant to be supported, but proof that you're meant to learn how to lead and not to rescue? And that is exactly what I told this lady when I was on the discovery call with her. And I said, the art of leadership and management is something that is learned. And it is normal that it takes, some experimenting with it and getting help and getting some advice and to teach yourself about that. It is not innate and acquired. It's something that you develop over time. And so I gave her some pieces of advice, such as, for example, doing weekly check-ins with her staff and clearly communicate her expectations. And how often does she expect a check-in from people? If she sends in an email, for example, does she want people to reply only when they need to, or does she want them to reply all the time and say things, for example, well received, acknowledging reception, even if there's nothing to follow through with? It's important to learn all these things. Management on its own is an expertise, which is mine as well. And so, yes, all of that to say that delegation becomes healing when you give clear expectations, firm boundaries, and space for autonomy to your team. You're not here to parent your team, you're here to lead them. And so enough of theory and explanations, and let's dive into a little integration prompt. So if you are listening to this at home and you're in a space that allows you to close your eyes, I would like you to close your eyes and place a hand on your heart. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, where in your business are you clinging to control? You can even pause this podcast and take note of it if you want to journal on this later. The second prompt is, what would change if you let go even just a little bit? And the last prompt I want to share with you today is, what version of you is finally ready to be supported? And this one is powerful because think about it. Even me, when I realized I was not ready to let go of control and to delegate and to give that task to my virtual assistant for prospecting, was I really being in my queen energy? Absolutely not, because a queen would have felt right away this was the right decision to delegate that task and trusted that the investment would have come back. And it did. The day I delegated that task to her, first of all, I felt immediately the shift of me being in my queen energy and feeling worthy of having that expense. And it's not even an expense, it's an investment. And 2 weeks in, at first I wasn't getting conversions from her doing the task. But at one point, the platform caught on that we were quick to send in our pitches, our proposals, and gave us more visibility. And the people that were reaching out even told me, I picked you because you were one of the most active accounts. And so it paid off really quickly. And it required me to be patient, trusting, unshakable in my queen energy and my sense of worthiness. And so I had to really envision and embody that version of the queen. And that is the version of me that was feeling ready to be supported. And so let's close with some actionable CEO move that you can do today, this week, whenever you feel is aligned. Choose one task that you're handling off this week, not next quarter, but now. Write the SOP, your standard operating procedure. If you don't know what that is, basically it's like a manual. It is a written description, a recipe of how to do the task that you are handling on yourself now. Record with Loom if you want. There's a free version for short videos, or even just use whatever you have at hand. If you want to record yourself on Zoom, whatever the tools that you have at the moment. Ask for help, whether from someone in your team, hiring a freelancer, however that applies to your current reality. Because this isn't just a time-saving hack, it's a new identity initiation. It goes way beyond simple tactics in business. And so this brings me to talk to you about a new offering that I have. And it was the missing piece of the puzzle, the missing link in my current offerings. I had Systems Queen, and Systems Queen was amazing, and I still love it, and I think it still very much has its place, and it's my signature program, and it is incredibly valuable to business owners. But there was this missing link where there is so much work that needs to be done on yourself, on your identity, on your shadow, on the things that still live in your subconscious mind and that you're refusing to look at because it is uncomfortable. And it takes a lot of courage to dive into all of that and to look at it head on in the eye and to say, I acknowledge you that you're there, blockage, limiting belief, and I am ready to face it and to move and to talk and to breathe and to act and to eat and to dress up as the version of me that I am envisioning in my mind, and to stop dragging with me that old version of me that is keeping me in that old paradigm and that old identity that is not serving me any good with where I'm going next. And so this is why I created the Alchemy Lab. It's the lab where we are investigating, digging, operating, and fine-tuning, fixing the little things that are still holding you back beyond systems. And so inside the Alchemy Lab, we go deep into that shadow work, into somatic rewiring and energetic upgrades that make delegation, leadership, and scaling finally safe for you. So please join us. And I currently have, if you're listening to this on May 12th, I currently have a 5-day challenge, an immersion on Telegram, completely free, and you won't want to miss this. So go in the link in bio in my Instagram and find your free immersion. DM me on Instagram at Consciousness Guidance if you want to chat about all of this, and tell me what's one thing your business is begging you to let go of, but yet you still have fear around it. And so that was it for today's episode. I'm so thankful for you to have listened all the way here. If you're still here, I thank you. And I want to take a moment to tell you how good I feel after lowering that pressure and these expectations I had on myself to perform on that podcast. And I feel like it came out so much more naturally with me just giving myself a break and a chance and grace to do it my way and to read my notes and to pause the video when I felt like it. And so for next episode, stay tuned for the CEO time matrix and how to work less but achieve more. You've done the healing, you've started letting go. Now let's rebuild your time and calendar in a way that reflects your next level energy. All right, have a good one, and we'll talk so soon.